So, hi everyone, I'm so pleased to be here today, and I'm really looking forward to getting a chance to meet and talk to as many people as possible. And I was also delighted to be asked to share my experience of life beyond the corporate world. And the corporate world has been a really big part of my life, in fact, before I was born. So my father was actually a career shell man, and I couldn't see any reason why I shouldn't follow in his footsteps. So I actually started with Shell as a sponsored student and had my first summer jobs when I was 18. And I mean, from the minute I started, I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was so exciting and everything was so new. New jobs, new opportunities, new countries, and new and interesting people wherever I went in the world. And you were forced to learn and get out of your comfort zone. And I still remember a moment I was standing at Singapore airport waiting for a plane to Beijing, and I was going to go and negotiate with some Chinese officials. And I couldn't understand how on earth I'd got myself in that position. And I had that really sort of sick, scared feeling you get right here. But it's one way to learn. And I mean, if I look back, that's over 20 years of working with amazing people all over the world. And as I went through, each job was bigger than the last one. And until about 7 years ago, somewhat, not quite sure how I got there, but I found myself as the global supply chain planning manager for Shell Lubricants. So this was a huge operational job. I had 400 people working for me around the world, and some of them I never even met. And the only certainty I had in my life was every day, somewhere in the world, something was going wrong. The real question was just how badly. And now I really enjoyed that. I mean, I felt I could create a new team, we had to develop new business skills, and we could deliver new and exciting business value through that. But somewhere along the way, the excitement and the passion were just starting to fade. So I thought about it. Maybe I was sick of jetting around in all these airports. I was missing out, perhaps, on my home life with my husband and daughter. There was also just something about values, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. So in 2009, I had the opportunity to step back and take on more of a project role. And it was still a really big job, and I was able to be enthusiastic and contribute significantly to the business. But the pressure was far less intense. I finally had time. I'm really passionate about gender diversity. So I was able to support the Shell Women's Network and set up the senior women's group within that. I could spend more time with my family. In fact, for the summer, I took a whole month off, unpaid leave, and spent it with them. And I mean, I've always been really excited and passionate. I mean, it's sort of why I get up in the morning. And, you know, if I look back, you know how there are sort of 3 days a year, maybe, you just don't want to get up, you know you've got to do something, you really don't want to. And my husband would always tease me, today you're getting paid, the rest you do for fun. The problem was, it seemed like there were more and more days that I needed that push to get up. And I suspected I wasn't the only one. In the autumn of 2010, I went to the Women's International Network meeting in Paris, and I met over 800 really inspirational and amazing women. And I got the opportunity to talk to other people, maybe mid-career, big companies, about my age, and we were starting to hear the same things, that the passion was starting to fade. So when the possibility of redundancy came up, I decided to really break out and follow my heart. This was not planned. This was definitely a golden opportunity. I decided I'd take a 6-month sabbatical, do some volunteer work, and then get back to earning a living. Luckily, I was introduced to an organisation called Getting On Board, who supported me to identify how my skills and passion could be useful in the voluntary sector, and gave me the confidence to apply for roles. With their help, I found out that the local branch of Cruse Bereavement Care were looking for a new chair, and I felt that that was my opportunity. Hang on a sec, that's a bit out of the blue. Join and run a bereavement charity, and imagine the conversations with my family and friends. So you're moving from Shell into bereavement work. Hang on a sec, isn't that a bit depressing? Well, so how and why to answer them? The why was clear. Bereavement is universal. It's true for every human being on this planet. And the answer for the family and friends is no, it's not depressing. This is about hope. This is about moving on, whatever life throws at you. So there I am. I've got a new title and responsibilities, Chair of Cruse Richmond. And where do I start? So it was really different, just to be really clear, but it was the same. My business skills felt relevant. I was working because I wanted to. Volunteers are pretty different to employees. They have different ideas and motivations, and I had to be quite careful about my assumptions, especially setting priorities and delegating tasks. And yet we still needed to focus on the customer. We call them clients, but they're still customers. How could we help? Our waiting time when I joined was unacceptable. We need more volunteers. How do I get more volunteers? I need to run a training course. This was not a simple fix. I needed to shake things up, and this is where my style of challenging the status quo and focusing on a future vision could really help. In the last 18 months, I feel really positive about the impact that I've been able to have. Our volunteer numbers are up. Our waiting times are down from 4 months to less than a week. We've been commissioned by the NHS, so we finally have some money. And people say thank you and mean it. It's not timed by a performance review, but it happens spontaneously and genuinely. Oh yes, and it's a national committee, so I'm on the South East Regional Committee and the London Development Plan, and there is so much for us to do. In parallel, I also was mentoring people, still from Shell and other people from other women's networks, and this gave me so much satisfaction that I was determined to go out and get a coaching qualification, which I did earlier this year. Slowly, I've come to realise what I really want. I want to use my skills and experience to help people to help themselves. And I can see how to do that through both the charity work and my coaching. I realise that this is a core value for me. So if I'm going to have passion for what I do, then it needs to meet that need. So to bring my story back to the current day, I've never been happier and healthier, and I'm building a new portfolio of activities that I think meet my values. I've no idea where it will grow to. I'm the sole breadwinner in the family and I need to generate an income, but I'm absolutely determined to leave space for the volunteering and to make sure that I have time to do coaching as well. In the meantime, I dance, spend extra time with my husband and 8.5-year-old daughter, and I've just got to somehow put this jigsaw together. As I reflect back, my favourite quote from Ambrose Redmoon comes to mind. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear. So for me, helping people to help themselves is the important thing that enables me to be courageous, and that allows me to follow my passions. Thank you.